course, they won't admit it. They're still trying to make use of the system, but the system will not help them to recover. So when we see this, we should be very careful, even though we want to transform ourselves. Don't transform simply because others are doing something. It comes from the developed countries, therefore it must be good. We should learn from their mistakes. If you learn from their mistakes, then you can transform yourself more correctly and more profitably. You know, we introduced One Peace policy. It's about looking at the Eastern countries, Japan, Korea, and now China, Taiwan. Well, as you know, Japan was not doing well for the past 20 years almost. They couldn't overcome their recession. And I mean a lot of Japanese, because I go to Japan every year to speak in a forum arranged by Nikkei Shimbun, a business paper in Japan. I go there regularly. And Japanese ask me whether I'm still looking at Japan. I say, yes, I'm looking at Japan. I say, but we are failing. Yes, I want to know why you fail, so that we can avoid it. See, but that is the truth. And I try to tell the Japanese the reason why they fail, but they have this fixation about America. They must do what America tells them to do. Only now Abe is changing a bit. He is doing something that Americans don't approve, and Japan has practically turned around. Of course, lots of people are taking pot shots at Abe. They want him to resign very quickly. But when you don't examine what you want to copy, then you get into big trouble. It's not right, it's not good to copy what others are doing without examining the consequences, the long-term, the short-term, and the long-term consequences. If you examine carefully, you will know that that thing will collapse one day. That is why when something is proposed by other people and we want to develop our country, to progress our country, we should not copy outright. We should not copy just because these people seem to be doing well. We should examine what they are doing and verify whether in fact what they're doing is right and will contribute to them in the short and the long term. But if we find that it is not, we are suspicious about it, then we should be very careful about copying. We should come up with our own ideas, our own ways of tackling problems, rather than just copying what they are doing. If there is any advice I can give to bankers, and I'm not a banker, I can give you what is basically a political advice. My approach to things is not to just copy, but to examine before copying. If you don't examine to find out how weak, how bad are the ideas coming to us, you may copy because it is fashionable. Women may copy the fashion, but in doing business, in banking, you shouldn't be following the fashion. You should think about whether it is good or not good. And that is the one advice that I can give, and I will not give any more advice to you because you know your banking better than I do. I don't. Have you any record of me borrowing bank? I don't borrow. I'm going to say that I don't hold any shares at all in the stock market. I only have 200 shares in Malaysian Tobacco, which I bought before I became a member of parliament, long, long ago. Of course, it's worth much more now than it was before. But I don't invest in shares. I don't play with shares. I don't borrow money. I'm a very, very conservative person, and I think being conservative, orthodox, sometimes pays, not always, but sometimes it pays. So in the banking industry, don't follow the fashion, but think, analyze, and look carefully at all the new ideas, the new products, financial products and all that, to see whether they will really work or not. I was nearly trapped. In fact, I was trapped. So once somebody brought Mark Rich. I'm quite sure you know Mark Rich, the crook. He came here. He was introduced to me by a friend of mine, and he was telling me about how he could reverse the drop in the price of tin. And you know what happened. I allowed him to sell, to buy tin, and eventually we should have made a profit, accepting that the London Metal Exchange decided that the buyers, the sellers, need not deliver the tin. You see, it's an agreement that is made to purchase, to sell the tin to us. We are buying the tin at very low prices. When the time comes for them to deliver, they couldn't deliver because we have the tin, they don't have the tin. See? But when they didn't deliver, London Metal Exchange says, oh, these Malaysians have been cornering the market, therefore you don't have to deliver. What they were doing is illegal. But we entered into a proper agreement to purchase the tin that was being sold at lower price, because we know very well they don't have the tin. That is my first experience with the international marketplace. The second one happened when these people were investing in hedge funds. An American came, brought to me, of course, by a Malaysian, well-known Malaysian. I won't give his name. He came, and this man was telling me that he can give a return of 30% on investment in his, whatever he was running, hedge funds. I listened to him, but I had this experience with the tin. I said, I'm not going to do this thing. Anything that looks too good cannot be real. I don't know whether it is legitimate or not legitimate, but it was so good. You put in money, he wants me to put government money with him and get a 30% return on that money. So I said, thank you very much. I didn't put money. He came the next year, he said, well, now we'll give you only 25%. I also said, thank you very much. I didn't put government money in because I've been beaten because of the tin market, so I didn't put money. Unfortunately for me, I didn't. You see, because when something looks too good, you should look carefully at it. You should look very carefully at it, because when they look too good, maybe there is some defect somewhere, something wrong somewhere. In doing business, if you get a return of 5–10%, you should be happy. But if somebody comes and tells you he will guarantee you a return of 10–20%, 30%, just throw away. It's very strange to see senior civil servants being cheated. Their pension, the gratuity that they get, they put into somebody who promised to double what the money that they put in, and they lost all their money. So even in banking, I think when somebody comes to want to borrow money and tells you he's going to make 30% profit, I think you should look carefully at it. I mean, this is very simple things that you know, but new ideas, new products are constantly being created, and they will come to the banks to raise funds, and I'm quite sure you are very careful about lending money. But sometimes, of course, you're too careful, you don't lend the money. And when you don't lend the money, they all run to me. They think that I can order a bank to lend banking to lend them money. Big complaint, but I'm quite sure you are very considerate. When people deserve to get the money, please give them the money. But at the same time, be very, very careful about how you lend money. So what I'm saying is something not new at all, something that you knew all along. But even though you knew all these things, sometimes being human, we may make wrong decisions. So what else can I say about banking? Of course, an ignoramus, someone whose knowledge about banking is that of a layman who seldom borrows money. So my knowledge about banking is very, very meager. But as you know, when I was Prime Minister, I had to face all these shenanigans by a lot of very clever people. But fortunately for us, we managed to examine them closely and decide not to do what they asked us to do. So, do you ask a question or no?
Yes.
No.
Thank you, Tun. We have one for Tun. Okay, open to questions. Perhaps our school members or our honorable board members would like to start.
Anybody again?
Can I ask one question?
Yeah.
Good morning.
Morning.
For the benefit of the yeah. Tun, first I'd like to say thank you so much for coming this morning. It's a great honor for all of us to be able to interact with you. Secondly, if all our customers were like you, Tun, I think we're in big trouble. My question, very simply, is, in the crisis of 97, 98, Tun, you decided on some very, very bold measures which raised the ire of the international financial community. Many people said you were bringing us back to the Stone Age by instituting those controls. Now, you had your advisors, you must have discussed many of your people. How did you stay the course? Making the decision was one, but how did you stay the course in the face of all that skepticism and criticism? Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. I think it was the most frightening period of my career as a leader in the government. Every day I wake up wondering what's going to happen. You know, you say something wrong against them, immediately the currency went down. I went to Hong Kong to speak at this meeting of the World Bank and IMF. I called them names, you know, I called Soros a crook and all that. And the next day the currency went down. At that time, my good friend Anwar Ibrahim was the Minister of Finance. After I gave my speech, I went to Sabah, and he rang me up to tell me that the currency has depreciated again because of my speech. So what is happening is that they don't even want you to speak about it. They want